The fall of a neighborhood tyrant. Have you ever watched your child tumble from a height, helpless to stop it, knowing they couldn't even brace themselves? I have. The sound of my daughter's wheelchair smashing against the flagstone patio still haunts me. It was meant to be a simple neighborhood barbecue, laughter, burgers, and fireflies under a summer sky. Instead, it ended in blood, sirens, and a truth that shook our quiet suburb to its core. My daughter, Lily, a bright 10-year-old paralyzed from the waist down, was pushed off a second-story deck by the one person entrusted to protect our community, the HOA president, Margaret Hensley. But this isn't just a story of cruelty. It's about a father who fought back, a community that woke up, and a reckoning that changed everything. Stick with me, because this tale of justice will make you question who holds power in your neighborhood. My name is Tom Harlan. I'm a retired Marine, 52 years old, with more gray in my beard than I'd like to admit. After 20 years of service leading supply runs through deserts and rebuilding villages under fire, I wanted nothing more than a quiet life in Willow Creek, a manicured slice of suburban Virginia. My wife, Sarah, and I chose this place for Lily, our only child. At 5, a car accident stole her ability to walk, but not her spirit. Lily's the kind of kid who paints sunflowers on her wheelchair and races kids on scooters, laughing louder than anyone. Her resilience is my anchor. But Willow Creek wasn't the haven we'd hoped for. From the moment we arrived, we felt the eyes, the whispers, the judgment. And then there was Margaret Hensley. Margaret was the HOA president, a woman in her late 50s with a perm as rigid as her rulebook. She wore pastel cardigans and a smile that never reached her eyes, her perfume announcing her arrival like a warning shot. She'd been in charge for a decade, wielding the HOA bylaws like a scepter. At first, I thought she was just being picky, finding people for untrimmed hedges or unregistered garden gnomes. But it was more than that. Margaret didn't just enforce rules. She used them to control, to exclude, to hurt. Our first run-in came a week after we moved in. She knocked on our door, clipboard in hand, and demanded to know why we hadn't submitted our wheelchair ramp for approval. It disrupts the neighborhood's aesthetic, she said, eyeing Lily's ramp like it was graffiti. I explained it was for my daughter's mobility. She tilted her head and said, "The handbook requires pre-approval, Mr. Harlan. Standards matter." That was my welcome to Willow Creek. Over the months, Margaret's attacks grew bolder. She complained that Lily's wheelchair scuffed the sidewalks, suggested we park out back to hide the ramp, and at a community picnic, she muttered, "Some children demand too much attention." I kept my cool for Lily's sake, swallowing my anger like bitter medicine. I'd seen worse than Margaret in war zones, but something is chilling about cruelty dressed in politeness. I started saving every letter, every email, every snide comment, sensing she'd cross a line I couldn't ignore. I was right. The day everything changed was the annual Willow Creek Summer Social, held at the community clubhouse atop a grassy hill. Margaret hosted it every year, a chance to flaunt her power with catered food and a string quartet on the deck. Sarah and I weren't keen on going, but Lily insisted. "I want to show I belong," she said, her eyes bright. "How do you say no to that?" We dressed her in a blue sundress, her wheelchair decked out with star-shaped stickers. For an hour, it felt almost normal. Neighbors smiled, offered Lily lemonade, and complimented her decorations. Then I saw Margaret watching from the deck's edge, her lips a thin line, her eyes cold. Sarah whispered, "She hates that Lily's stealing the spotlight." I nodded, but thought Margaret would stay away. I was wrong. It happened in a heartbeat. Lily was near the deck railing, giggling with a neighbor's dog. I turned to grab a burger, and Thina gasped, a crash, a scream that tore through me. Sarah's cry shattered the air. I spun around, and Lily's wheelchair was empty, teetering by the railing. Below, on the grass, lay my daughter, still as a broken doll, blood seeping from her head. I don't remember running down the stairs or shoving through the crowd. I only remember kneeling beside her, whispering, "Stay with me, sweetheart," as Sarah sobbed and neighbors dialed 911. Then Margaret's voice cut through. It was an accident. She must have rolled too close. Her tone was calm, rehearsed. But she didn't know about Ethan, a teenager filming the party for Instagram. His video showed everything: Margaret approaching Lily, her hand darting out, a deliberate shove. The chair lurched, and Lily fell. Rage burned through me, but I didn't lash out. I made a call instead to Major Dan Carver, my old CO, now at a nearby National Guard base. "I need backup," I said. "Witnesses. Uniforms. Make this count." Dan didn't hesitate. "You got it." As the ambulance sped Lily to the hospital, 3 guard trucks rolled into Willow Creek. 6 soldiers in crisp uniforms stepped out, led by Dan. The crowd fell silent, burgers forgotten, kids staring wide-eyed. Dan marched to Margaret, holding Ethan's phone. "Ma'am, we have evidence of you assaulting a disabled child. Stay here." Margaret scoffed. "You're not cops." Dan's voice was steel. "No, but we're witnesses, and this video's with the police. Sit down." For the first time, Margaret's smug mask cracked. Lily survived, but barely. Emergency surgery repaired her fractured ribs and concussion. The doctors said her paralysis likely saved her from worse. I sat by her bed, holding her hand, vowing she'd never feel unsafe again. Sarah looked at me, eyes blazing. "We're not letting this go." I nodded. "We're going to war not with fists, but with truth." I didn't sleep that night. By dawn, I had a plan. Dan got the video to the sheriff's department and the DA. But I knew Margaret's type connected, slippery. She had friends on the town council, a pristine reputation. One video might not be enough. So I dug deeper. I'd kept every HOA violation notice, every email with Margaret's name. Dan and I canvassed neighbors, asking about their experiences. What we found was a pattern. A man named Carl showed us a fine ramp he'd built for his elderly mother. A woman named Lisa shared how Margaret reported her autistic son for disturbing the peace during therapy. Margaret hadn't just targeted us. She'd bullied anyone who didn't fit her vision of perfection. Within days, I had a dossier thick with evidence. I took it to Deputy Karen Wells, a no-nonsense officer who reviewed the video and documents. "This isn't just assault," she said. "This could be a hate crime targeting a disability with a clear pattern." The words hit hard. Justice felt possible. Then a local reporter, Emily Ruiz, got wind of the story through a hospital contact. She asked for an interview. I agreed, but only if we focused on Lily's strength, not her pain. We filmed in our living room, Lily holding Sarah's hand as I laid out the truth, the ramp disputes, the harassment, the push. The story aired, and Willow Creek exploded. Support poured in letters, casseroles, strangers offering hugs. Veterans groups, disability advocates, even former HOA members who'd clashed with Margaret reached out. The community had been silent too long, and now they roared. Margaret tried to spin it, her lawyer claiming she tripped and demanding a retraction. We didn't budge. 2 days later, the sheriff issued a warrant. Margaret was arrested on her pristine lawn, handcuffed as neighbors watched. The HOA scrambled, ousting her in an emergency vote. The board faced scrutiny. 2 years of financial mismanagement and unchecked power came to light. New leaders were elected, and they asked me to advise on community policy. I said yes for Lily. Margaret's trial was swift. The video, witnesses, and her history sealed her fate. She was convicted of felony assault on a disabled minor, misconduct, and civil rights violations. The judge sentenced her to 5 years, no parole for 2, plus civil suits that had bankrupted her. Lily healed, her spirit unbroken. Therapy helped her nightmares fade, and neighbors embraced he, inviting her to parties, decorating bikes with her. One could even dress as Lily for Halloween, wheelchair and all. She laughed for days. We put a plaque by our ramp. Accessibility is a right, not a privilege, with Lily's handprint in concrete. Months later, we held a new picnic at the clubhouse. Lily cut the ribbon, her wheelchair gleaming with rainbow streamers. As she spoke, "Thank you for letting me belong." I held Sarah and knew we'd won. Willow Creek wasn't perfect, but it was home. This fight taught me that silence enables cruelty, but courage reshapes the world. Margaret's name is now a warning. Don't be a tyrant. Lily's is a beacon. Never give up. So what about you? Have you faced injustice in your community? Would you stand up if someone hurt your family? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about fighting cruelty and finding justice. Your voice matters.